and welcome to my second half of November pickups. This is a day or so late. Apologies for that. It's just I haven't been at home, so all the stuff I got in the mail hasn't been with me, but hopefully you guys forgive me for that. So I said in my channel updates video that I'm going to go back to combining my anime and manga pickup videos rather than separate them like I have been, because if you watch that video, I explain what I'm hoping to change with this channel in the future, how I'm going to be adjusting my buying habits and sort of what I spend on things. In saying that, there is quite a bit to get through for this video, just because quite a few pre-orders and things that I had already paid for before I made the decision to switch this sort of channel direction have come in, but also, but in contrast to that, majority of things in this video will be stuff that I am quite happy owning, and I'm very excited to be able to read or watch. They're the sorts of things that I feel I want to be reflected in my collection as a whole. So yeah, there's, even though it's a large going to be a large update video for this one, it is following a lot of the rules that I set for myself that I sort of explained a little bit about in that channel update video. If you haven't seen that, I'll link to that in the description or on this screen here, so you guys can hear more about my thoughts on that in greater depth. And I'll just get straight to it, and hopefully this won't take an age and a half. I'm going to start with my anime first, just because there's quite a bit to get through, and then, but manga, there's a lot more to get through, so I'll leave that for the end. First of all, though, I'm going to be showing off some merchandise. These are things that I've gotten in the past, and they're Kyoto Animation or KyoAni Store sort of exclusives pertaining to Free, Iwatobi Film Club, Eternal Summer, High Speed. So these are birthday goods for particular characters. This one in particular is my personal favorite character of the franchise, and if you've seen previous videos where I get these, you'll have a fairly good idea of what they are. They're clear files, so I really like getting clear files for a series I enjoy. These ones are for Makoto Tachibana. His birthday was on the 17th of November. This particular clear file is from the birthday surprise range, and is specific to the High Speed characters. So from the most recent movie within the franchise. And then the second one is the Fresh Fruit birthday one, which is related to Eternal Summer. So it has the television cast that probably more people are familiar with. Yeah, as like I said, if you've seen previous videos, I already have Haru and Nagisa, as well as the two senpai from High Speed. All of their clear files for this year for their birthdays. Last year I bought the sort of rubber strap little exclusives. I'm a big fan of Free, and I really like those little character specific merchandises. So yeah, that was the first merchandise, or the only merchandise thing I got for this second half of the month. Next is some DVD titles. The first of which I bought at Right Stuff in one of their $5, $7.50, and $10 sales. This is the DVD release by Nozomi of Toward the Terra. This is the film adaptation of To Terra, the 70s manga, in which humanity has sort of abandoned Earth due to their own misguided sort of impacts on the environment, and humans are raised like away from Terra or Earth, and then some humans have adapted to have like ESP powers, and they are known as the Mu. And there's sort of a battle going on between humans and Mu. It's a very interesting sort of speculative science fiction manga. Yeah, Keiko Takemiya's manga I own. It's only 3 volumes long, so I'm interested in seeing how this film adapts the story, seeing as the manga itself was never that long. And yeah, I've heard pretty solid things about this, as well as my other DVD pickup, which is actually the television adaptation of the same story. This is done by a different studio, different people, different everything. I don't have all of the discs with me as of yet, although I have bought them all. I have volume 3, and these DVDs were released by Bandai before they went bankrupt or sort of pulled out of the American market. Volume 4, Volume 5, and Volume 6. Yeah, I really enjoy the manga of this, and I'm really interested in seeing how these two two anime versions adapt the story. I've heard that they're both different and sort of not exactly one for the manga, which is expected, considering one is a 90-minute movie, the other one is a 26 episode television series. But yeah, I really enjoyed To Terra, the manga, and I'm looking forward to watching both versions of Toward the Terra. Next are some Blu-ray releases, all UK releases. So the first one is a series that I know a lot of people love. I really love the performance part of it and the music. The story and the drama wasn't perfect in my opinion, but I do really love the series anyway. I think it's certainly one of the strongest series from last year. Was it last year or the year before? I think it was last year. And that is Your Lie in April. This is the Blu-ray release by All the Anime or Anime Limited. It comes in this box to hold the 2 parts, but this is just part 1. I know some people have complained about actually removing the digipack from this part 1 release, that saying it's not exactly easy to get out. I haven't really had a problem with it. Maybe that's because I have longer fingernails or smaller fingers or what, I don't know, but I haven't had an issue getting the digipack out. Speaking of, the artwork for the digipack looks like this, and the discs themselves, very beautiful. Of course, this pink artwork is familiar if you've bought the American release, as it's the same artwork they use on their half sets for the series. And yeah, really looking forward to the second part. Yeah, Your Lie in April, I'm sure I don't really need to explain in too much detail about that series. I'm sure many people are familiar with it. Next is one that I've actually had on pre-order for 3 years. It finally came out just this past week in the UK, and that is the film double pack of Makoto Shinkai's The Place Promised in Our Early Days and Voices of a Distant Star. This was something I've been wanting to get forever. As I said, I pre-ordered it 3 years ago. They've had a lot of issues with delays and hold-ups and all sorts of things, but it contains both films on Blu-ray and DVD. For me personally, I bought this set for Place Promised in Our Early Days, as that is the only film I do not have of Shinkai's currently on Blu-ray. I already have Voices of a Distant Star on the global edition of 5 centimeters per second, which is a Japanese release, and that release has 5 centimeters per second, Voices of a Distant Star, and she and her cat. But this is the DVD of just voices in one case, like so. And the second case has the Blu-ray and the DVD of Place Promised in Our Early Days. On the Blu-ray of Place Promised, we do also have Voices of a Distant Star. So they separated the two films on DVD, but just kept them to one disc for the Blu-ray, which sort of makes sense considering that Voices is only a 45-minute film. But well worth the wait. I'm glad to finally own this set. It's one I've been, sort of hoping would come out for what is literally years at this point. And I'm glad that it seems to have finally materialized. And finally, for the Blu-rays, DVDs, anime stuff, is another UK release, and one that I'm sure many people are maybe familiar with, and that is Anime Limited's release, Ultimate Edition release of Full Metal Alchemist, the original 2003 series. So it comes in this huge resin gate. It's probably... It's quite heavy. It opens and snaps closed with magnetic holdings, and I'm just going to move this out of the way. It's very, very big, very solid. You have to be a bit careful, moving it other places, because it is resin, and resin can be quite delicate, but it's hand-painted and very, very lovely. And limited to, I think, 1,000 units. So, and then, of course, it also comes with this huge art book, which you cannot see because it is... cannot fit in frame. But this is majority artwork, sort of character design stuff, as well as landscapes and promotional materials and all sorts of things. I can't really give a proper flip through. Let's see. It's really sort of the quintessential release for the original Fullmetal Alchemist. And if any of you don't know, Fullmetal Alchemist was like the second or third anime I ever watched. It was certainly the show that got me invested within anime, fandom in general, and it's still one that I hold in very high regard. The sets themselves, there's 2 of them. This is the first half. The second is black with the homunculi on it. Again, digipack release for almost all of Anime Limited's releases. And this one has Ed and Al as well as Lego on it. 3 discs with the red with the Flamel symbol on them, of course in reference to Edward's coat. And on underneath we have 3 different transmutation circles. I'm not going to get them all out because I'm trying to get through this quickly. It also contains 6 or 7 art cards, very high quality ones, way better than some other companies have been doing recently. Really, really beautiful. And these pieces, again, if you're familiar with the franchise, were the original singles DVD covers. So back when this show was released on 13 separate discs, those were the covers for them. And part 2, we have a bit more art on this one, on the digipack group shots more than anything. Again, these red discs with the Flamel symbol, and inside is various transmutation circles. This is the entirety of the series, so 51 episodes on 6 discs, I believe. It doesn't contain the film, but I'm sure that's not a problem. You can get the film quite readily in the UK, at least, and I'm sure Australia as well. This is restricted to Region B, as far as I'm aware, so unfortunately US fans who don't have regionless Blu-ray players won't really be doing themselves many favors if they import it, just because it's not really one that can be played on their sort of setup, the PlayStation or Blu-ray player or whatever they're using. But for me, because the UK and Australia is the same Blu-ray region, I have no problem watching any of their releases, and I'm just really glad that Anime Limited has been doing such high quality, beautiful collector's releases for the UK market, and an extension for me. So yes, now I'm going to go straight into manga, and hopefully that won't take too long. So going straight to manga, we have quite a bit here to get through, so I'm not going to spend too much time on each individual volume. But first of all is Mars Volume 14. This is the penultimate volume that I need for this series, and then I can actually read it. I've heard very good things about Fuyumi Soryo's shoujo series, this one in particular, so I'm eager to get into it and hopefully really enjoy myself. Next is a Yen Press release, one that I sort of tweeted about a bit when I was reading it, and that is Volume 5 of Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun, a 4-koma release by Izumi Tsubaki. Really funny. This is a series I got into via the anime, and I think if you've seen the anime, you sort of have a pretty good understanding of the comedic timing for this series. So both the manga and the anime are really good for this. Hilarious, again, really great cast of characters, which is something I really look for in my manga. And it's the sort of humor that really clicks well with me. I'm not always the biggest fan of Japanese humor, but Nozaki-kun really makes me laugh quite a bit. Next is a new Kodansha release, one that I was interested in, but I'm not exactly super impressed with it, so I don't know whether or not I'll be buying or reading more. And that is Atsushi Okubo's Volume 1 of Fire Force. Many of you will know Okubo from his very popular series Soul Eater 1, which is a series I myself really enjoy. I do like his sort of creativity with his settings and just sort of characters in general. Really funky art style. I really like Okubo's, just the way he draws. But with this manga, I did find that I wasn't really connecting with any of the characters. I don't know enough about them, and the one problem I did have with Soul Eater was that a lot of the comedic tone and timing was really off. It would swing a lot between comedy and drama, and it wouldn't really flow very well. And I thought a lot of the comedic additions were somewhat inappropriate for certain scenes, which is fine. That's, you know, to the mangaka's own discretion. It was just one of the sort of main problems I had with Soul Eater. Fire Force does have those same problems. So I'm not sure whether or not I want to get into this series. In addition to that, it's sort of a very familiar premise to me. I think similar stories you can compare it to are things like Blue Exorcist or Chrono Crusade, and even Soul Eater itself. It is very familiar tonally with, like, I don't know, the organization and just how these people interact with each other. Not to say it's a bad series, I just think it's fairly standard, and I'm not super loving it at the moment. It is something I will probably read a couple more volumes of, either through my library or via digital releases. the good thing about Kodansha is that a lot of their manga is available on Kindle, Kobo, whatever else you want to read it on, rather than me having to invest in like paperback versions of the story. So yeah, Fire Force, I'm sure there's plenty of people reading it and really enjoying it, and I'm glad it seems to be doing fairly well. I know a lot of people have been picking it up, but for me, it's something I'm probably going to have to sit and wait on and think about a bit before I really invest too much more time into it. Next are some more Kodansha releases, sort of re-releases from back when they were Del Rey, and many of you may know exactly what that means in just a second, but this is a series I've wanted to get for a very, very long time. I finally found a really good deal on the set, so this is the complete series of Hitoshi Iwaki's Parasite, a 80s, 90s sort of body horror manga, science fiction-y-esque series. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it either through the manga or from the anime. You can really tell the manga was very much styled for its time. The main character, Shinichi, is much more of a late 80s, early 90s protagonist within Parasite than he is in the most recent anime, as well as his girlfriend, as well as a lot of the characters. It has a certain different sort of tone, and I really, really enjoy that sort of tone. I do like the anime, but I think that just personality-wise, I find a lot of the characters in the manga Parasite to be better than their anime counterparts. But Volume 1 looks like such. Then we have Volume 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, which is the final volume. If you're a fan of body horror or just horror in general, this is a great series. It holds up really well, and definitely want to check out. It's sort of remained a classic within the horror genre for a long time, but it's sort of action horror rather than just like creep out horror. Yeah, so Parasite is really great. I'm sure many of you already know that, and I'm just glad to finally own a copy of the series. And continuing from Parasite, related to that is one of Kodansha's newest releases, and that is Neo Parasite F, which is actually an anthology of various manga one-shots set within the Parasite universe, or with the idea of Parasite, all written by various shoujo mangaka. So Asumiko Nakamura, Emma Toyama, Kaoriyuki, all very familiar within Western shoujo fans. You can probably tell from this front cover. Asumiko Nakamura did the cover. Which you may recognize as the same style that Dokusei, or the classmates film, just recent film released by Aniplex, it's that same mangaka. And honestly, I think her story, which is the first one, is definitely one of the stronger ones. A lot of these are very, very interesting horror, and do play around with the setting very well. Some of them are more comedic in tone. Some of them just are completely new characters. Some of these stories do have Shinichi and Migi in them. It's a really interesting mix. I'm glad that we have been able to get it. I am really interested, actually, in seeing if we can ever get the earlier just Neo Parasite anthology, which had a whole bunch of really influential mangaka, including Moto Hagio, whom many of you will know that I'm a big fan of, doing no, contributing to it. So I'd love to see where, like, if we could possibly get that, although that may be a little bit older, and therefore not as, I would say not as relevant, but I don't know how well it would sell considering it's a bit of an older crowd of mangaka. Next are 2 volumes from different series from my favorite mangaka, Fumi Yoshinaga. The first one is Vertical's newest release of What Did You Eat Yesterday? This was a great volume. I just got it today. I read it pretty much as soon as I opened up the mail. Phenomenally well done. Very, very witty humor and a lot of nods to certain real life events within Japan. Always done wonderfully. If you're a foodie, if you like to cook, if you're interested in cooking, this is the manga for you. The slice of life elements are done perfectly. It's really a great sort of relaxing, sit down, calming manga. And if you ever wanted to read or make any of the dishes within the series, all of the recipes are there for you to follow, and you can make some delicious looking food. Yeah, I've talked about this series before, and I've talked about Yoshinaga before. It's more of the same, basically. I highly recommend her series, especially if you're sort of interested in her brand of humor and her love of food. This is sort of quintessentially what Fumi Yoshinaga is within her manga series. And the second volume of her manga that I got this just last couple weeks is volume 12 of Oku, The Inner Chambers. This is her historical epic. There's everything in here: drama, romance, violence, whatever you want. And it's wonderful. I cannot say enough good things about this series. It is, I think, a bit harder for a casual reader to get into. There is a lot of Japanese history in there. It can get very confusing. A lot of politics and a lot of sort of scheming and conniving. If you're not paying attention, you can get lost, I think, very easily. But the payoff of the story is wonderful. I feel like the story itself is wrapping up soon. I don't know whether or not she has plans to finish it within the next couple volumes, but it certainly feels like possibly that is her current plan. It's wonderful. Like I said, in addition to it being slightly confusing if you're not paying attention, the translation itself is all sort of old-timey English to reflect the historical period, which can be a bit hard to get into initially, but once you're into it, you sort of pick it up as you go. I personally have no problem with it, but it is something to be aware of. But I'm so glad that we finally get another volume, especially after sort of the developments of volume 10 and 11. And this volume as well, I'm really looking forward to seeing which way the series goes. I'm always happy when there's more Oku in my life. Next is another series that I spoke at length about in one of my more recent pickup videos, about being one I was highly anticipating and one that really I ended up really happy with. I was very glad that it lived up to my expectations, and that is Welcome to the Ballroom Volume 2 by Tomo Takeuchi. This series is currently on hiatus in Japan. It's 8 volumes long, but yeah, phenomenal. As someone who was involved in ballroom dancing for many, 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 many years, it is very accurate. I love the idea and the portrayal of ballroom dancing as more than just like a girl's sport, as an actual sport. you know, dramatic, intense, just as engaging as any other sports manga is. So yes, I've spoken at length about this series before, but it's phenomenal. Volume 2, just as great, and I personally really like a lot of the nods. It's not confusing, and it doesn't treat you like an idiot. The movement, as you can probably see in these last couple pages, is wonderful. The art style really helps show off the way the series is and what it's about, and how dance can be such a tour de force. But yes, Volume 2 of Welcome to the Ballroom. I'm so happy about that. Volume 3, the next volume is Volume 3 of Princess Jellyfish by Akiko Higashimura. Another series I am so happy about. Yeah, this is what I want in my videos in the future. This is why I'm changing. I want to be so happy about everything that I own. And I'm so glad that I can say I'm so happy to own this. I'm so looking forward to reading this. This is a series, again, I've talked about at length in many previous videos. I'm so glad it's doing extremely well for Kodansha. It's in the top 10, top 5 New York Times bestseller lists whenever it's released. It seems to be doing very, very well for them, which does mean that we are looking at very high possibility of getting more of the series licensed and released in English. Consider, as we only currently have up to volume 12 within the Japanese releases, which means 6 of these omnibuses. The story is phenomenal. Like I've said before, the cast of characters is really likable, engaging, empathetic, and you get very invested in the story. Just overall wonderful. I'm so glad that a josei seems to be doing so well for Kodansha. It's a wonderful series. Fun, quirky, just overall really, really enjoyable. And it goes in a lot of different directions. It has a very realistic approach to the fashion industry throughout it. I'm just really glad that I'm able to read and own this series, and I encourage everyone to try it. It's definitely worth your time. Finally, for the sort of quote-unquote normal manga, is another omnibus. This is Yen's most recent Fruits Basket release. That is volume 7 of these omnibuses, so volumes 13 and 14. Again, another series I've waxed poetic about in previous videos. Phenomenal. It's definitely a shoujo classic for a reason. Rereading it, these specific releases are lovely. The translations are great. I really can't say enough good things about them, to be perfectly honest. And it's really nice to have such an influential shoujo manga back available for people to read and enjoy, and for people who missed like the opportunity initially after Tokyo Pop's bankruptcy and sort of withdrawal from the market. We are now about halfway through the series itself. And I believe there's going to be 12 of these omnibuy. So yeah, we're definitely in the second half of this series. And yeah, I'm really happy these have been monthly releases, pretty much monthly releases, because we sort of get them as quickly as possible. And yeah, just wonderful, lovely. I highly recommend this series to anyone who's sort of interested in checking out a good shoujo. And finally, there's a couple BL series here, only 2, so I'm going to go through them sort of quickly. First of all is the entirety so far of Shoko Hidaka's Blue Morning. This is released by Sublime. It's still in its plastic because I have not had the chance to read it yet. This is done by the same mangaka who wrote because she's finished with it, does The Flower Blossom, which is another BL manga I pick up, but is currently being released by June. This I've heard nothing but good things about. I really like Hidaka's BL work, so I think I will definitely enjoy this one. And I know it was a long time waiting for Volume 6, which is the most recent one. It just came out this month, last month, one of them. I don't know. I don't remember. And prospects for Volume 7 aren't until late next year, so yeah, I think her series in general tend to release very slowly. In Japan, does The Flower Blossom, whilst only 5 volumes long, took 9 years to be released in its entirety, so I think it's just a slowness with her sort of schedule and publishing and everything else. I don't know. I would have no clue, but I'm looking forward to getting into it and reading it. And finally, for manga, technically not manga, is a series that I spoke a lot about in more recent videos. I was very excited about it, and I finished it now, and I love it, and I'm so glad I gave the chance to this sort of, I guess, lesser-known manhwa series that is Kyung-ha Yee's Intense. Volume 3 is The Dark Light of the Moon, which looks like so. It's beautiful. If you're a fan of, I've said it before, Kyo Yonada, I highly recommend this series. And Volume 4, which is the final, which is My Intense Lover, which is sort of, I don't necessarily think it wraps up in maybe the most realistic way, or maybe even the most satisfying way, but I liked how it ended. I thought it was certainly interesting, but the story itself is wonderful. The artwork is beautiful, and I do really recommend it. Net Comics' releases of these volumes are beautiful, and interestingly, if you have the entire series, I'm not going to go up and get the other ones, you can see the Intense sort of logo is blowing away, like being blown away by wind or some such thing as you go along through the series. It's pretty interesting and a nice little addition there. But that is everything for the rest of this month. I'm sorry that this video is so long. I sort of didn't really expect that I'd get this much in this last half of the video. Like I said, with my new sort of changes to how this channel is going to work, I will most likely not have huge hauls like this in the future at all. There will probably be months where I do get more stuff than usual, just because that's the month that certain things come out. Like, what did you eat yesterday? Oh, cool. I think certain titles come out, certain types of titles come out on like one specific day, so you might get, I might get a lot more of a certain type of title or from a certain author. So yeah, I don't know. It'll work itself out. I'm sure you guys don't mind. And yes, that was everything. There was quite a few anime releases that were sort of highly anticipated for me and weren't necessarily ones I'd expected to get so quickly. So I'm glad that I was able to collect everything and get it all ready. I feel I have anime coming, but only 1 or 2 things. I'm not sure with manga. I've probably got half dozen, maybe 10 things. So next month will be much smaller amount of stuff. I know that end of year sales make everyone crazy, especially with the right stuff and their holiday deals. But for me, like I said, I'm cutting back. There's really nothing that's interested me very much at all, but we'll see in the next coming weeks. And for some stuff, I'm really not in a huge rush to get them. I'd rather clear out as much as I can from my collection that I already have, to new owners, to loving homes, before sort of filling the shelves up again. I really don't want to be at like full capacity with this collection, and I hope you guys understand that it might be slower for releases and my pickups and things in the foreseeable future, but it doesn't mean I'm any less of a fan of certain titles. Some things I will be getting digitally rather than just a physical copy, because I don't really feel the need to own it or reread it a huge amount of times. So anyway, I'm explaining too much. Watch my channel updates video if you haven't. It is, I think, pretty important for how this channel is going to go. And I'll see you in the next video, guys. I don't know what it'll be, but it will be coming. And I'm sure I'll think of something before my first December pickups video. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye till then.